everyone, I hope y'all are having a great day, and today I want to talk about one of my new obsessions. So a few weeks ago, on a whim, I started watching a TV show, and now that TV show is like the only show I can think about. So I'd heard about The Good Place from like a few different sources. One of my good friends, Doug, talked about it one time. My screenwriting professors from last year would talk about it. And like every time I scrolled through Netflix, I would see it, but I was never very interested in it because mainly I didn't really know what it was about, and also like I'm not a huge fan of Kristen Bell. At least I thought I wasn't. But I randomly started watching it, and then within like 4 or 5 days I had finished the show, and I was like, what is my life? I flew through the first season in like 2 days, and I was like, Sophia, what are you doing? You have work to do. But I was so into it. I still am so into it. And the second season is not even on Netflix. So that should have been a good enough deterrent to me to like, you know, not continue watching because I had schoolwork to do. But I streamed the second season like from a really sketchy website because I just had to keep on watching. So there's that. But yeah, I started watching The Good Place and I couldn't stop, and then the second I finished the last episode that's out, I rewatched that episode because I loved it so much. So if you don't know, The Good Place is a 30-minute sitcom that runs, I think, on NBC. But the first season is also available on Netflix, at least in the US it is. And the show is created by this man named Michael Schur. And if you don't know who Michael Schur is, he's like a very big deal to me personally, just due to my tastes and what I like to watch. But he is a co-creator of Parks and Rec, which is my favorite show of all time. And he also worked on The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and you know, he has like a very prolific filmography, I guess I would say. But yeah, he's a very successful, very funny person, and he creates really good shows. So honestly, I don't know why it took me so long to watch The Good Place, because I love Michael Schur. So it should have really been a guarantee that I would love The Good Place, but I love The Good Place. It's definitely not like anywhere close to how much I love Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec takes up so much of my heart. So there's not really that much room for any other shows to get to that level of Parks and Rec status, but The Good Place is also really, really excellent. I still haven't shared with you what the plot is about. So the plot is about this young woman played by Kristen Bell. Her name is Eleanor Shellstrop in the show, and Eleanor kind of wakes up, I guess, and she's told that she's dead and that she's in the good place. And the good place is a really prestigious competitive reward, and you have had to be one of the best people on earth to get to the good place. But the catch is, she doesn't actually belong there. They've mistaken her for someone else because she was a pretty horrible person on the earth. And so in The Good Place, you get matched with a soulmate, and that soulmate is supposed to be your perfect counterpart, and you're supposed to share all these interests and be, you know, the perfect match. So she tells her soulmate, Chidi, I don't belong here. And Chidi used to be an ethics professor when he was on Earth. And so with his help, she tries to become a better person so that she doesn't get caught that she's not supposed to belong there, because she doesn't want to go to the bad place, which is literally just straight up torture. So that's kind of the premise of the show. But the thing about the show that's so interesting is that everything is eventually unraveled or subverted. They keep things really fresh. They kind of like build things just to collapse them down later. Every season kind of ends with a twist, and I predicted the end of the first season literally 6 minutes into the first episode. It was 6 minutes into the first episode, and I texted my friend Doug, and I was like, I think that this is going to happen. And he was like, I didn't predict what happened in season 2 though. So season 1 is consistently incredible. Every episode is super well written, super hilarious, really fresh, really innovative, and it's really exciting. So even though I knew what was coming, I still really, really enjoyed it every step of the way. Season 2 kind of had to build for me. So the beginning of season 2, we focus a lot on the character named Michael. Also, I'm just now realizing that one of the main characters is named after the creator. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but you know. So season 2 focuses more on Michael, who's kind of like a creator figure, and I think he's significantly less interesting than Eleanor and Chidi. Season 2 is good, but it's not great, I don't think, until you get to episode 9, and then episode 9 is fantastic. And then for me, I think it kind of dipped again for episode 10, and then 11 and 12 and 13 were so good. The end of season 2 was so good. Like so good that after I finished those last episodes of season 2, I instantly wanted to go back and rewatch them. And so I did. But yeah, The Good Place is so good. It makes me mad that A, it took me so long to get to it, and B, season 3 isn't out yet. Now I'm gonna spoil some parts of the show, so if you haven't watched The Good Place up until the end of season 2, I'm gonna ask you to leave and not be spoiled. So, bye. So my friend Doug and I always exchange thoughts on different kinds of pop culture, so like TV shows, movies, music, and he'd watched The Good Place before I had. And so when I started The Good Place, I texted him and I said, I'm watching the first episode of The Good Place. I feel like The Good Place is not good. I mean, I'm only 6 minutes in, but something seems fishy. And then I said, also, there wouldn't be much of a premise if The Good Place were actually good. Something is up. Also, Chidi is so cute, OMG. And then I got to the season finale and I was like, so this is the bad place. Figures. But what's so incredible about this show is that they literally built this show on this concept and then completely deconstructed it by the season finale and still had material to work with for however many more seasons they're going to make for this show. So these writers are honestly creative experts. They do not care about like following certain tropes. They can lose the entire premise of the show and still make great content, and I think that's so exciting. So I'm in college, I'm pre-med, I want to be a doctor, but deep down in my wildest dreams, I would love to be a TV writer, and this is exactly the show that I would want to write for. So I'd either want to write for like an NBC comedy, like Parks and Rec, or The Mindy Project, or The Good Place, or I want to write for the Disney Channel and write, you know, like a Hannah Montana Wizards of Waverly Place kind of show. But anyway, back to the point. It's just that the writers for The Good Place are so brave, I guess. Like, if you had given this concept to less capable writers, we'd be stuck in The Good Place for seasons upon seasons. It's like when you read a trilogy and you think that story did not have to be a trilogy. It could have been condensed into one book. But that's what they're doing. They are condensing the story into one season, and that's what's so good about it. And then by the time they get into season 2, they work on this entirely new premise. And at first I was annoyed. I was like, how many times are they gonna restart this? Like, are we just gonna watch the same things over and over again? But they quickly like shed that too, and they worked on something new. I was honestly so shook at what I think was episode 9, where they hid under the train and they escaped Sean. And then when Maya Rudolph came in as the judge, she was so hilarious. The episode where they're testing whether they can get into the good place was incredible. I loved Eleanor's test about how it was whether she and Chidi could go in by themselves, and she was the only one that passed. So she was the only one that was good enough to go to the good place. That episode was so good. My favorite episode is definitely that one, or most likely it's probably the last episode of season 2, the season 2 finale. I thought was fantastic. The fact that they're turned into humans again, and then Eleanor goes through like the good phase and then goes back to bad, and then she meets the bartender, which sparks her to Googling what we owe to each other. The only thing about that is that she flies to Australia and meets Chidi, and Chidi is speaking English. Or like, even when she watches Chidi's lectures online, Chidi is speaking English. When in like the first episode of the first season, Chidi's like, oh, I'm speaking French. The Good Place just translates everything because I'm from Senegal. So that's like a little plot hole, unless that's like significant later and this is actually not real. I feel like it's more likely a mistake than actually a purposeful plot hole. I cannot wait to see where season 3 goes. I don't know if we're gonna follow the other 3 characters as they're humans, or if we're going to somehow meet them all together now that Eleanor and Chidi are reunited. But like, oh, I love this show, and I love the diversity. Literally, the main characters, the 4 humans, besides Kristen Bell, are all people of color, and like, writing is so good, and I love Michael Schur. Like, I just wish I were a part of the creative team behind this show because I love this show so much. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Good Place. Let me know your thoughts on The Good Place. This video is so dumb. It's just me rambling and gushing about how much I'm obsessed with this show, but I'm so excited for when it returns for season 3. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll have a fantastic day and happy reading. Bye. Also, I just want to show off my Lorde shirt. I went to her melodrama tour. Look at that, isn't that neat? Yeah, so